Good morning, everybody. My name's Wendy Bond, and I'm here doing our second Friday Facebook, our first Friday. So from now on, you can expect on the first Friday of every month, I'll be here sharing a technique from Lakme that you can use on your clients every day behind the chair. I'm here with our regional educator, Gina, and today we're focusing on reds because, like, who doesn't like a good redhead? So what I'm doing is I've started my single process application on my beautiful client Holly, who was nice enough to come in. She is a real client, and I'm just going to show you. I started my application because watching hair color be applied is very boring. I did leave a section out at the top to kind of show you the amount of gray she has. So you can see she's got a fair amount of gray. If you want to zoom in, I'm going to go ahead and reapply in that section. See if I didn't get too thorough. Nope. Or if I turn around, so right here, let me go to open up this one section. I was trying to leave a little section uncovered. Yeah, so you can see, I mean, she's anywhere from, you know, about 80% gray in parts of her hair. And, you know, we go ahead and we use collage color. We've been using this for her in a long time. And I'm going to go ahead and reapply to these one sections I kind of left out a little bit. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and do her other application, the rest of her head. In the back of her head, turn her around. She's got, I can turn the chair. She's got a mixture of gray and darker hair. So you can see, you know, this color not only gives you excellent gray coverage, but it gives you really nice lifting coverage. So we're able to lift up this darker level and also get really good gray coverage. So Gina is going to go ahead and focus on, we're still working with our Technia products. Oh, sorry, we can start with Technia. So we're still focusing on Technia. So last time we were here, we showed you Technia, how to create fun fantasy colors with Technia. In this case, we've got our mannequin who is sort of like an 8 blonde. I think her name is Bridget.
I think this is Bridget.
Yeah, Bridget. So Gina, why do you like using the Technia product so much?
Alright, so I like Technia because it's super customizable and it's really easy to work with. It's really nice to create. You can create fantasy tones on someone's hair. You can also use it as a color refresher. It's really nice to also mix two Technia products together to really customize whatever you're looking to achieve. So here on our Bridget, we used 3 parts of the copper shampoo with 3 parts of the gold. Technia offers anywhere between red, copper, gold, violet, chestnut, and then there's also an ultra clear for people that have yellow tones in their hair looking to get out the warmth. So we are going to pull through our rest of our Technia on our Bridget, and we're going to set her for 10 minutes. And then we'll rinse her at the sink and finish up her blow dry so you can see it by the end of this video.
And what's really amazing about the Technia products is, you know, again, I like to make them very customizable. So many times if I do have a redhead client, I'm selling her probably like the copper shampoo and maybe the gold treatment because I'm looking to create kind of a copper gold. On our model or mannequin today, you know, we wanted to do more of a copper, but we didn't want it to be overbearing, so we added just that one part of the gold shampoo. So you can sell somebody matching shampoo and treatment, or you can mix and match. So for me, I'm more of a mix and match person because, like, why wouldn't you want to customize something? And I know, Gina, what are some of your favorite combinations for, you know, mixing and matching with the Technia products?
So if you sold your client like the gold shampoo with the chestnut treatment or the brown treatment, you can create more of like a milk chocolate look. If you sold your client the violet shampoo and then followed up with the chestnut or a brown treatment, you'll create more of a dark chocolate look. So it's really easy and fun to use. And the clients really love it too since it's so colorful.
And I think what you can really understand is that, like, so many clients, when you have a client that loves their hair color, that's very particular, you know, they want the ability to maintain and kind of boost their color at home at times, which is really nice. So that a lot of times gives them that feeling of like, I can bring out a little violet pop, I can do something else with my hair that I wouldn't normally do. So it gives them a fun opportunity to kind of play hairdresser in a very safe way. And also, one of the best parts about all the Technia products, whether it's our regular Color Stay shampoo, any of our shampoos from Lakme come in 10-ounce bottles as well as liters and gallons. So if you're that hairdresser that's very environmentally conscious and you're going through like 10 liters of shampoo, think about how much plastic that is. I mean, I can think of very few manufacturers right now that actually still continue to make gallons to refill at your back bar. So this is a really nice feature that Lakme cares about the environment, that they also save you money by having these gallons so you can refill all your shampoos at your back bar.
I actually am really environmentally conscious as well, so I'm constantly looking for products where I can have a really big bottle and refill the ones in my shower with a larger bottle too. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most clients do, you know, and that's such a great tip because, again, like, who
It
wants
also is cheaper.
Yeah, and like you may not want to keep the liter in your shower, but you might want to be able to refill your 10-ounce bottle in the shower.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, so that's a really great tip.
And it's nice because there's a pump on the bigger bottle, so it's easier.
And what I do many times too is if you're in the situation where you have a client where maybe you can't, you know, whether you're at the price point where you charge extra for a pull through or a color refresh, having the Technia Ultras at the back bar allows you to be this hero where, you know, maybe your client isn't the person who's going to pay to have her ends glazed. You can custom blend a shampoo, and you would have to shampoo her for color anyways, where you're going to be able to refresh or color balance her tone just by what you use at the back bar. So I think it gives you like ultimate creativity and freedom and value for you and your client. And I also think it's a great way for people to try this color. So on this particular mannequin, you know, we're putting this like sort of 7 copper with a little bit of gold over a level 8 kind of natural blonde. So we assume that it's going to be stronger and it's going to be poppy and she's going to get a real color change. But we can also know that, you know, if the client never does it again, it's going to last anywhere from 5 to 10 shampoos. So it gives them that ability to try the color, and then if they like it, we can proceed with something more long-lasting.
So Robin Munson says that you're our hero.
Aw.
Michelle says hi. Bruna says you're amazing, Wendy.
Oh, that's so
She
sweet.
is amazing.
Well,
I have very boring hair color, and she makes me look beautiful every time.
right. Well, I think one of the things that's really important to see is like, you know, Holly comes in pretty regularly for her color. So it's the idea that you can see how healthy and strong her hair is, and that we always do some kind of multi-dimension on her hair. You know, I mean, this hair looks like completely natural hair. It doesn't look like hair that's colored, and it doesn't look like hair that's you know, as much as 80% gray in some parts. So it's really nice to, you know, see that how healthy Lakme color leaves the hair.
Yeah, I've only been able to get my hair to grow this long since Wendy started using these products on me.
Yeah, and Holly's come to me for quite a long time, so we
Yeah,
really,
many, many years.
I think that's also the test of when you know you have a brand that really works. So Gina, you're done with your application, right?
Yes.
I'm going to turn Holly around so we get a better view. So can you just recap what we used on your model again?
Yeah, so our Bridget started off about like a natural level 8, and we refreshed her color with depositing some copper and gold tones in there. So we did 3 parts of our copper shampoo, 3 parts of our copper shampoo, to 1 part of our gold shampoo, and then we'll rinse her out the sink and refresh her with our Technia treatments.
So while she's processing, Gina, if you wouldn't mind helping me stir
Sure.
these up, and we'll set her off to the side a little bit. And just for you guys, this is Holly's formula. Okay, that makes me feel depressingly short. So what we have for her root color is we're using one of our plus tones in collage. So we're using an 800 plus along with an 844, which in our world is copper copper. And then I just put in a little bit, 20 grams of a 743, which is a copper gold. And I love throwing some gold into my red formulas, especially when the client has gray, or in Holly's case, maybe you're dealing with somebody who has some very dark pigmented hair with some very white hair. So that particular gold tone will help fill and balance the white hair to kind of make it match the pigmented hair. So, I mean, it depends what kind of cook you are. I could have gotten away with doing just 2 colors. the 800 plus, which is for 8 pluses are for resistant hair, and the 8 copper copper. But I personally, I'm like, the more the better. Let's make it fun. Let's keep adding things in. So for me, I'm always the person who's going to put like a dash of this and a splash of that. So now what I'm going to do is focus on red hair painting. And I know everybody loves to throw the hair painting term around for balayage and blondes. And I personally get really sick of it because even though it does work really well, you can also do hair painting within a foil, and for like a natural redhead or something, for a blonde, sometimes it's more efficient to use foil. But one of the things I really like about hair painting with color is that you don't have the same worry about how it's going to blend or how it's going to lift. I'm just using it to add dimensional pieces. So I'm just lightly going over these pieces, and I'm doing, and I'm picking up pieces as I go, and just, painting this on. And this is actually my 8 copper copper. So what's interesting is this particular one is going to be a fairly soft dimensional piece, so I can make it fairly wide and fairly dense. And if you look, when I'm pushing the color through with my fingers, I'm actually saturating the hair more and pushing more with my fingers to kind of press that color into the ends. And then as I get to the top, I'm going to walk the color up the strand a little bit softer. So if you can see, I'm really pressing at the bottom and kind of feathering at the top just to kind of create those dimensional pieces. I'm going to keep a towel nearby, so as I need to, I'll just wipe off my hands and continue. And one of the things that Gina's always reminding me of, which is nice when Gina and I have worked together for a while now. Sorry, you can do that over if you need to. Is that I tend to like to work around my clients, so maybe you'll follow me around, Lexi, instead of turning the chair. I won't turn the chair as much. I tend to work in like kind of what's like the 360. So I'll either turn my client or walk around the client as I like to place my pieces in. And again, I'm sort of working in like a 1-inch section, 1.5 inches probably. You want to do hair painting in fairly large panels, and you want to be fairly dramatic, because if I put teeny tiny little hair painting pieces, I'm doing tone on tone hair painting, except where I'm going to be using our clay lightener. So I'm using an 8 copper copper, I'm going to be using some clay lightener, and I'm going to be using an 849, which is copper with an intense red. Oh, Gina, do me a favor, grab the swatch book. Here I am like talking, like everybody knows what I'm using.
Alright,
So just really, you could start with the
collage formula.
yeah.
And to touch on what Wendy said before, prior to working with her, I was a stylist that was working in sections. And now that I've seen Wendy work in like this 360 around the head, it is such a game changer. It saves so much time.
Sweet.
It really is. It saves so much time, and it's very, it's like logical. At the sink, whenever your client's done, you're not worrying about taking down one section, setting the next one for 5 minutes. When she's done, she's done. Because you put it all on simultaneously.
Well, and for me, it really has to do with how we view our clients. Like, you view them in the 360. Like, you watch them walk away from the chair, you watch their hair move, and, it's dimensional. So it makes more sense to me to apply your color in that same way.
So I'm going to show you Holly's root color. So her root formula is Collage 800 plus. And then in the Lakme world, that's for more of a resistant gray coverage. So we have 50 grams of this. We also have 50 grams of our 844, and that's a level 8 copper, which is right there. Right there. And we have 50 grams of this. And then we also have 743, which is right here, and that's a level 7 copper gold. So in total, we have 120 grams of color, and we mixed it 1 to 1.5 because we know we're using our collage. So mixed it 1 to 1.5 with our 30 volume. And I'm going to show you her hair painting pieces.
You might have to follow me. Lexi. Oh, no, Lexi can kind of come around this side if you can. So I'm just working it through, picking up my lightener pieces with my clay lightener from Lakme. And what I'm going to do too is that as I'm doing these, I'm going to go back at the end and drop in my colored pieces. So first I'm applying my bleach, and this is just simply to avoid having to clean my glove off multiple times. So, but really watch, I am really pushing this product through, and this is a chunk of hair. This isn't like a little ribbon. This is like a fairly big, dense piece of hair. So I'm doing a wetter application at the bottom where I'm pushing it through, and then going up to a much drier application at the top where I'm just kind of blending it. So you can see that the underneath is dry, Both sides of the bottom are fairly wet, and I'm just kind of, again, it has a lot to do with how much you apply and how much you press the product in. So if, Gina, if you want to go ahead and show them what we used for her dimensional pieces.
Right, so her hair painting, we used the gloss 849, which is right over here. This is the level 8 copper, and then the 9 is intense red. That was mixed up with our 9 volume, the orange bottle. And then her other dimensional piece would be the 840, which is a level 8 copper natural. So these two right here. Again, that was mixed with the 9 volume, the orange bottle. And then Wendy is using the clay lightener with Lakme, and you're gonna mix that 1 to 2. And that's really great for hair painting.
Yep, and then what I also am doing now is I've got my 844, and you can see as this color develops, this deceiving one, you showed him the 844, right?
Yeah, the 849.
The 849, sorry, 849, is a very bright color.
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting because it's very, very bright. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can choose to use like a cutting comb and kind of paint pieces on if you're a little bit nervous. Holly's got enough hair, I'm not that concerned, but again, if I wanted to, instead of just using the brush, I could just go ahead and like heavily apply color to my comb. This is a Hattori Hanzo comb, which I actually really like because these combs are really indestructible. I know it sounds crazy, but like the teeth never fall off, the slip stays fairly good. So I'm gonna just go ahead and paint on, and if I'm a little more nervous because this is more of a brighter piece, I can choose to do a lighter saturation and just kind of like almost comb these very diffuse copper pieces in, because I know she'll like the pop, but maybe I'm trying to make it a little bit softer. So every time you move around the head, if this is something that's new to you, you could just literally like load up your comb. I tend to do both sides. I'll scrape off the excess as I need to, and then just pick up your part. And what's interesting is it's sort of like at first you feel like it's not applying, but then as the more you kind of work it through, the more you can see it is going to give me like nice even saturation, but with a finer piece. Sometimes if you pick up a fine piece and you're trying to use your tint brush, you just don't get it pushed through enough. So that's why I'm choosing to use the comb for some of these applications. So I'm gonna go ahead, and drop down another section. Oh yeah, see that's a bright color. So this is the one I chose the comb for, this is the one I did the other. And you could say like, well, you're using light pieces and you're using coppers, and why do you even add the depth? Maybe just do the lighter pieces. You know, I didn't want her to look washed out. And I also feel like when you look at a natural redhead, or you look at somebody who has, you know, naturally red hair, or even naturally blonde hair, brunette hair, you know, there's always all this dimension going on, and there's always all these different sections going on. So I personally always look for that with my single process color. So I would say there's very few clients that I do gray coverage on that I don't, if I'm not doing highlights, I'm doing some kind of dimensional hair painting. And I might not do it every single time they come in, but I probably do it every second or third time they come in. And I did use the gloss color, and I chose to use a 9 volume this time because I felt like it would last a little longer than maybe the 6 volume. Oh, Gina, you're gonna rinse your
Yeah,
ball?
so our mannequin, our Bridget, has been on for 10 minutes. I know this is so creepy. We're gonna take her to the sink and just rinse out her shampoo treatment. So I did use 3 parts of the copper shampoo, 1 part of the gold shampoo. And as we mentioned before, Lakme is a very sustainable company. They came out with the bigger liter bottles. So we're gonna follow through with our ultra gold treatment. And you can definitely tell already how much warmer tones picked up on Bridget. And what's nice is because we use the shampoo, we just have to thoroughly rinse this. Oh yeah, absolutely. And they're great time savers. They are great to keep at your back bar to enhance the color, save some time if that client doesn't have time to sit to get her ends done the day of the service. And I'm gonna try to do a super quick blow dry on Bridget so you can see the after.
Well, and like I said, the nicest thing about doing the ultras as a quick fix is like occasionally you have that client where maybe their toner just grabbed a little bit of the hairline. You can go over it with like the ultra gold or something just to soften that out. You're just able to do so much. If you're one of those people that feels like whenever you lift your bleach clients, you don't always have to tone, using the ultra clear, which is this like beautiful pearlescent tone, it's perfect for razor or the line. We used it the last time we had a Facebook Live. It's a perfect thing just to fix with, and you're going to be changing your client anyway, so it's the right into you. Something that's just going to
All right, Bridget is looking good. I'm gonna give her a quick blow dry so we can see the after.
Oh yeah, that's going to be nice.
Bye, Bridget. Okay.
So as I move my card around and work on Holly, I'm going to go back. I'm going to be alternating. I've got the 844, which is interesting because the 844 is actually the tone that's a little more natural looking, but it looks brighter in the dish. It's just the way the color's oxidizing. So I'm going ahead and dropping in my 844 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and drop in some of my 849, which are the more intense coppers. I don't have to be quite as careful when I'm switching back and forth from, like, say, one copper to another, as far as, like, if I'm getting, if I have a little bit of color left on my hands, I'm not really that concerned. And again, I'm just loading up my comb and kind of scraping off the excess a little bit. And then, like I said, I'll just sort of pick it up and just start to kind of blend that color into the hair and kind of push it through. These combs are also great if you're trying to add very, very fine, almost like baby lights to your gray-haired clients, where you've got single process color on. They don't really want highlights, but you feel like maybe their color's looking a little too flat or staid, and you just want to break it up and add a little bit of dimension. This is a great way to just like comb in a few lighter pieces and let them, kind of softly process. And again, you won't get anything really strong. You'll get something very subtle. And I think more, as you can see, I'm a little bit of a messy colorist. I always joke, it's like, I always buy black shoes, because if I'm not careful, I'll have color on my shoes, I'll have color on the floor or the walls and all that stuff. But it doesn't really, again, I like to just sort of work around the head, kind of push the color in. And I like to really, as I'm dropping in these pieces, I'm actually visualizing the tone that's going to be there. So each section is reassessed. So if I'm looking at this section, I'm like, wow, that's a pretty light section. What do I need to do? Do I want to add more depth? Do I want to add a brighter pop of color? And that's how I'm choosing it. Then when you pick up this piece of hair, you're like, is that too much hair? If it is, I'll drop some out. Is that not enough hair? And I'm really not evaluating the hair here. I'm evaluating it down here, because this is where the color lives, especially on a long-haired person. It's like, where is that color falling into the hair, blending into the hair? And that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. So yeah, it's just an interesting way of working. And I do think when you move around your client's head like this, you tend to work more efficiently and more quickly. And I personally think you get a better outcome. But I also feel like, what Gina was saying earlier about when you're done, there's no guesswork. If I, for some reason, I'm thinking about the processing time, I know I ended in the top, but I also know I worked around the head. So if there's any kind of variation, and with some pieces being brighter or a little bit deeper, it's going to go in a kind of very organic way, because it'll either be from the underneath, and you can see I'm not using a ton of clips. I'm just kind of flipping the hair out of my way as I go and just loosely trying to go through and get the hair to section out. Having like a tail comb is really key. So all of our Lakme educators and people that have worked with me for years will know that when I'm applying a single process color, I tend to use a brush and comb method. So if you can learn that, it's really nice. It kind of frees up your hands as you work. If you can't get comfortable doing that, that's okay. But when you're doing this part of like picking and choosing and picking up random pieces, if you can get to where you can just keep a tail comb in your hand, that will really help you with like picking up these ends without having to like grab the hair too much. So I'm still applying to my comb. I know this looks a little messy, but it's not, if you notice, it's not really messy on the hair, it's more messy on like what's happening on the card.
Amy says you're not alone when you say that you're a messy colorist, because artists are messy, and that's what she tells herself.
Thank you, Amy. I know. But then again, unlike my friend Robin, who could wear a white outfit head to toe and barely wears gloves, and she never gets color anywhere, and all her work is creative and beautiful because she does my hair. So it's interesting. I mean, I think everybody has their flair. You know, everybody has what they do.
We have a viewer from the Netherlands. It says hi.
Oh, hey. I love people from the Netherlands. They're just so freaking honest. You know, like they're very direct, they're very honest, you know exactly where you stand with them, and somehow they don't really offend you.
And Kelly says hi. Kelly Boyle.
Oh, that's so nice. So again, I'm just massaging this in, kind of really pressing it on the ends. Yeah, I mean, I know that Ashley in Florida, a lot of our other educators do hair painting. I mean, I'd be curious to see how many other people find that they do this, and if you do, like, how do you charge for this? So for me, I tend to charge, it depends on the client. I know that sounds really silly, but like if you have a client that's coming every 2 weeks and your application are 3 or 4, like within under 30 days, and because there really are those clients that come every 2.5 weeks or whatever it is, and you have a high price point for service, and I'm already going to charge you for a glaze or some kind of pull through, I'll probably do the hair painting every 3rd time you're in and not charge you, because I'm just like, this is the alternative to the pull through. I'm just doing this to kind of customize your hair. I'm doing it to add in a little bit of dimension. If you're the client that comes, say, every 8 to 10 weeks, then I'm probably going to charge you. And what I would charge for me would probably be, I like to charge by thinking of what your lowest service dollar is. So if your lowest price is a blow dry and your blow dries are $35 or $40, then you would never charge less than that. If you don't really price that way, then maybe you charge what you would charge for like a partial. I wouldn't ever charge close to what I charge for highlight because I don't feel like it's as much work. I also feel like I like the option of adding it on, and I like the option of this being spontaneous. So you can see it hasn't taken me that long. Like if you apply your single process color relatively quickly, most likely you can do this hair painting add-on, especially when you have somebody who maybe doesn't have quite as much hair as Holly has, in the same amount of time that you'd be doing your single process. So you don't really want to have to book extra time. You just want to be able to upsell this service. And I think that, you know, the upsell price point, it to me is somewhere between $25 and $40. So if it's like, oh, today I'm going to paint some dimensional pieces in your hair, and you know, I think it'll be amazing, and it's only going to be $25, people are almost always going to say yes. And the truth of the matter is, when you're charging for a glaze anyways, or if you anticipated glazing that client's hair, half the time you're either using less product or the same amount of product. So you're not doing anything but changing the application. But they should, you know, they should pay for the application, because obviously, you know, you're not, it's something takes a little more time, takes a little more thought than maybe just putting on at the sink, but it also makes the client feel very special. And I think in a world where, you know, we're constantly listening to like the new greatest home hair color, or your clients bringing something in from Whole Foods, which is probably my favorite, when they bring it, I know Holly's laughing, but she knows. I mean, people believe anything they see on the shelves at Whole Foods, don't they, Holly?
They do. They do. Not me.
No.
Not me. I foolishly did that once, and one of my friends literally said, "Who did this to you?" And then I had to confess that I had, so never again.
Well, and I think the interesting thing is that, like, of course, like, natural products and homeopathy and all these things have a place, you know what I mean? But I think the difference is it's like any kind of medicine or any kind of practice. It's important to know what you're using and just know that you're not wasting your time or you're not using the wrong product. So I think that's the part, is people assume that everything is good or everything works the same, and that's not always true.
Ashley says working around your client is really helpful for symmetry.
You know, I agree, and I really think too, because so many people's hair density changes throughout their head. You know, some people have a really funny hairline in the back, so even though they might have a lot of hair on the top of the head, they have very little at the bottom. And if you start applying like regular and then you suddenly get to the bottom and you've put too much light in, you know, they're not going to have any like depth for their color to live on. So again, even though I'm working around the head, I'm also thinking about where do I want more brightness, where do I want more depth, you know, that kind of thing. And I think working around the head does really help with the symmetry. So I agree.
And I am a walking ad for this because everyone thinks that I'm a natural redhead.
That's so nice.
And I am so not.
But it does suit you. I think that's the thing. It's like the suitability factor of having hair color that really suits the person is important.
Well, I think you're also being way too modest because I've had many other hairdressers. I went red before I started coming to you, and with them, I mean, they were good hairdressers, but they didn't have the same techniques, and so people liked my hair, but they knew it wasn't natural. Now people think it's natural.
Well, and that's a really good point because I do think it's like, I personally don't like color that's very uniform head to toe, and I get it, like some people might want to be that perfect like mahogany red where they want it to be perfectly uniform, and that's okay, and if that's what you want, I'll give it to you. But if I have my preference, I always prefer color that has multi-dimensional, and you know, hair painting is just the perfect way to do it. You know, it just really, yeah, like I said, you can, and the fact that you can change it up every single time is huge. And like I said, every time you're picking up a strand, you're looking at how light is that piece. Is this a little lighter? Do I want to keep it lighter? Do I want to make it darker? You know, you're just kind of assessing it as you go.
Amy and Ashley said that Lakme has the best colors for natural reds. Natural in quotation marks.
That is a good point. Because you know what's crazy about their reds is that all of the Lakme colors do have UVA and UVB filters naturally in them. So all of the hair color tends not to fade. But what I really am amazed about Lakme is they really do have these incredible, their coppers tend to be more kind of like copper with that tiny bit of gold so that it doesn't look real orange. It has that natural light reflection. And then they also have these coppers with like the intense red so that you can really have, you know, a much brighter red if you want to. So they've got just the best palette of reds that I've really come across in a very long time.
I second that. I really love my hair since we started using Lakme so much more than anything else.
Oh, that's so nice. And we change it all the time too. You know what I mean? Like we change it all the time. It's always changing, and it's never, you know, it's never a big adjustment. It's always something small.
Tracy says she's so glad to see you using the comb to apply color. She used to do that, and she's going to start doing it again.
Oh, that's nice. Well, you know, it's funny because like, again, you can use your end of your tail comb to like separate and pick up hair, but I feel like, you know, your tail, the end of your tint brush can get rather messy, and I feel like the tail comb just gives you a different level of kind of control and a way just to sort of work with the product. And then what's your favorite styling products? I know lately you've been loving the Bio Argan, right, Holly?
Yeah, I really do. My hair is so thirsty all the time, and especially to keep it this long. I use about a quarter size amount of the like as
The Bio Argan oil, yeah.
The Bio Argan oil, and I put it in, you know, when my hair is wet, and then once it dries, you would never know that I have any kind of oil in my hair. It's not in any way oily. It's just shiny and it has so much more slip. It's so much easier to style. Like the minute I put it in, then I can run a comb through my hair with no problem. I don't have to start with a brush.
Well, and the interesting thing is, like, I actually use the Bio Argan oil in my hair today, and I like it wet, and I put it on my hair wet, and I probably use like 2 pumps on my hair when it's soaking wet. And granted, I do have bleach in my hair, so again, like Holly was saying, it's sort of thirsty, but also I find that it always cuts down on the drying time. The oil kind of pushes the water out of the hair, and it tends to make it, you know, just dry really smooth. It's almost like a dry oil. It's very, very clean. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get all greasy, and you don't wash your hair every day. And I mean, I wash mine every day, but you don't, and you don't feel like it ever builds up on your hair either.
No, I don't. I wash my hair. I'm lazy. I wash my hair every 4 or 5 days. Actually, sometimes 6. Yeah. And it doesn't get greasy. And if actually the opposite, mine starts to look dry, and so even on dry hair, I'll take just a little bit of the argan oil and rub it so it's all over my hands, and then just like slick it over my ponytail, or slick it over the top of my head, and then it just makes my hair more shiny between shampoos.
So as I finish up Holly's hair painting, you know, her root color has probably, I started applying it a little bit before we started, like around 9:45. And it's funny, when you look at her root formula, there is like a bucket of color there, but I didn't want to run out, and she also has an insane amount of hair. Like, you think that you see how much hair is here, and then you actually try to make a ponytail, and it's like, it defies elastic. It's like, there's not enough, probably a two ponytail person. So, you know, I'm just going through, I'm finishing with like the 8 copper natural on the top for the most part. So what I'll be doing is I am going to gloss her at the sink. Once we get to where we shampoo her out, we're going to apply the 1040, which is one of my favorite colors. It's just such a beautiful tone, and it's not at all scary. So the 1040 is actually, it's this color here. So it's a really beautiful soft color. So that will be my overall gloss that I'm going to use on top of her hair to kind of just kiss the little blonde pieces with a little bit of color, fill in any of this other hair there that's sort of lighter. But as you can see, you know, we've got this really nice like mixture of, you know, painted pieces and lighter pieces, and they kind of just are all going to like live in the hair. You know, there's really this variation of tone. But even where I went slightly wider, that's probably with the 8 copper natural. Then the other ones, again, every single piece of this, the concentration or the saturation was heavier on the mid shaft and end. And again, these are fairly dense pieces because you're trying to make sure that the color lives in the bottom of the hair. If I had done traditional weaves or fine slices or little teeny tiny baby light type of pieces, which just drive me crazy in general, it would, you know, it's not going to show. So I want something that looks great when her hair's straight, that looks great whether her hair's curled or when it's up or down. So Gina, how did our girl turn out?
So here's Bridget. I got to blow dry half of her. So
I think that's good. We didn't want to bore you guys with just like waiting. That's beautiful.
So yeah, her color took pretty evenly and nice. This would be a great service to offer in your salon to do an add-on service. You can use these techniques as fillers, color boosters. So it's really versatile, the product. And her hair feels amazing because of how much hydration is actually in these color depositing shampoos and conditioners.
And just to show you, I did cut the mannequin's hair yesterday. And Mosker, do not make fun of me because my husband ridicules my haircuts all the time. But that is what she started out with. So just 10 minutes. I mean, again, you could have easily put this under heat. You could have left it on longer, right, Gina?
Right.
So you can see it almost had this greenish blonde cast, and now it's this like really soft copper natural. And we were going for that. Like, we wanted something that really looked like a try me copper versus like she's totally committed. And yeah, what do you think, Gina? And what would you tell her as far as like if she was gonna expect this to last or not last?
So I actually followed through with the gold treatment. If you did want to deposit a little bit more vibrancy or were looking to make it more copper, make it more popped, you could have followed through with the copper treatment. But you know, everyone's customizable.
Yeah, but it's such a fun thing. And I think, again, the way to really keep this in mind is think of like your average brunette client where like even Gina's hair would be a perfect example. Like she has these pre-lightened pieces. They're kind of there. She's got this darker root. If you were to do the copper over her hair, it's not going to dominate because she's brunette. But where she has this, she can try being a redhead. And like, who wouldn't want to do that? And it's not a big commitment. So again, even on this pre-lightened hair, you're thinking that if the client was to do it once and you had just left her at room temperature for about 10 minutes, you know, it's going to last probably 10 days approximately. I mean, don't tell her it's going to shampoo out tomorrow, even if she shampoos her hair 10 times. But the nicest part about Technia that I really didn't believe it till I actually worked with the product is how completely it does leave the hair.
Yeah.
Like I've had the pink in my hair in certain places, or the red, which makes a beautiful pink, and it completely leaves the hair. And I've done it on natural blondes as well as pre-lightened blondes, and it's just such a great alternative. So I'm just trying to think, was there anything else we wanted to cover? I know we're going to come back later and show you Holly's finished look. We'll finish out our girl, Bridget. Right. So one thing I am trying to remember is to remind you guys that we do have classes here in New Jersey at DSS, at Di Pasquale Salon Systems. On March 11th, we have an amazing educator, Maria Riveras, who is doing a 30-minute balayage class. And whether you love balayage, whether you hate balayage, whether you're new to balayage, it's a very cool class because she really gets down and dirty and she tells you the truth about like Whether it took 3 applications to get there, she works very systematically. She talks about picking up the same pieces. She talks about retouching balayage. So that's on March 11th. And then on March 17th, which is a Sunday, Gina and I will be doing corrective color solutions for everyday clients. And that's personally one of my favorite classes. I have a range of ages and people coming in, and I really try to balance the class so that I have somebody who is dark with maybe a violet tone who's going lighter, someone who's bandy who's getting a correction, and maybe someone light that's going dark. So I try to show you a variety. It's all in real time, and that particular class is a demo only class. So again, corrective color on March 17th. Thank you for the reminder. And the
color clinic.
Oh yeah.
In April.
Then in April we have a color clinic coming up, which is all about Lakme products. So it's a 2-day intensive, almost like a boot camp for Lakme, which will be April 6th and 7th, which is like an intensive, you want to know everything about the brand. So you've got a choice of 30-minute balayage, corrective color, and the color clinic, and all these can be found on our website.
And if you wanted to come to our corrective color class on the 17th, if you mention 360 hair, you'll get half off your ticket.
Oh, that's right, I forgot. So we're doing a special with, if you mention 360, you can get half off a ticket, and we would love to see you. So we will be back in probably about 2 hours to show you the finished models, and I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah.